welcome to tonight's City Council meeting on this Monday, March the 6th, 2023, approximately 7:07 p.m. Ms. Derry, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. A.C. Brown.
Here.
Ralph Meeker.
Here.
Tim Terry is absent. Roger Greenwood.
Here.
Daniel McDaniel.
Here.
And Rob Powell is absent.
Thank you very much. If everyone would please stand, we'll begin our meeting tonight with a prayer led by Joel Tetmeyer from First Baptist Church, and also followed by our pledge of allegiance by Mr. Senator Bell.
Lord God, we come before you this evening. We thank you again for who you are and the blessings you've given us. We thank you for your grace and mercy for us. We know that it says in Scripture that you have placed these men and women to leaders, that we may follow them, Lord, know that they're doing your will. I pray that we would, as our conversations go this evening, that it would be glorifying to you, God, and know that we're being used by you for your glory. In this Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Joel, I don't know if Ronnie told you, but you have to stay for the whole meeting. I'm just kidding. Almost had it, didn't I?
I did.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you for coming. At this time, I would ask the council to consider approving the minutes for the February 6th, 2023 regular City Council meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Have a motion and a second?
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Meeker.
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater.
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is recognitions and acknowledgements. Recognize everyone here. I think I know your name. So thank you for coming tonight. Obviously, word got around I was speaking tonight, so we have a smaller crowd than normal. But thank you for coming that are here. I believe our girls' high school basketball team will be in state playoffs Thursday night against Bologna in Hot Springs. So
At 6 o'clock. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. And there's only, we only get about 3,000 tickets.
get your tickets early.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Raymond.
You take the trouble.
Maybe, is Jeff here? We're trying to get that trolley ready by now. We're going to take everybody in the trolley. All right, and I know other teams have done well, and there's probably other folks who recognize, certainly, but you want to go ahead and Bob, talk about the weekend, this past weekend for the real estate?
Just briefly, let you all know, our realtors got together this weekend. All of them got together instead of competing and put together the first Greenwood citywide open house. We had a little over 60% of the total open residential listings in town were open. There was people there for open house Saturday and Sunday. And we got a lot of attention to the point that we had realtors in Fort Smith calling us going, hey, can we participate in that? I said, no, this is for Greenwood. We had people calling, realtors calling, saying, I've got property in Chaffee Crossing, can we go? This is for Greenwood. So went real well. I've heard nothing but good things. It was Buddy's idea. And I think the plan is to make it a 3 times a year event and make it bigger. So people are interested in Greenwood.
Very cool. Thank you, Barry and Buddy, for getting all that together. I apologize for not being there. I was going to try to stop by, and Danielle did this, her and I figured schedule us a trash cleanup out on the highway at that same time, so we were picking up a little bit of trash. So we'll invite you to do that with us too later on. We'll probably do that once or twice a month here pretty soon, so try to get that area cleaned up out there. But thank you for doing the real estate. That's awesome. Committee reports. I know Kenny's not here, but did you get a written?
The only one we didn't get was water wastewater.
Okay, so all reports are in there except the water wastewater. I don't see anybody from the commission here in case you have a question, but if you do, as always, whether there's a report or not, let me know or Danielle know, and we'll get you an answer as quick as possible. Citizen forum, I have no one signed up tonight, so we'll move on. Financial report, Mr. Marsh.
Can I make it real quick? Because there's a pressing, really riveting speech. Financial information, the key financial data that's in there, I'll just highlight a couple of things. The same period growth in February over last February for city sales and use tax was up 12.3%. You know, we budgeted 4.5%. The cumulative growth for the year is up 5.9% over our budget. As far as county sales tax is concerned, a little bit of a reverse situation. The same period growth February over February was up 4.7%. Our cumulative growth is 7.1%, which is below our budgeted number of 8.5. Advertising and promotion, the cumulative AP growth for the year is negative 0.22%, so it's basically right where we were last year. They're kind of stagnated over the last couple of months, but a lot of that could be due to slow remittance of tax. We're seeing that. There's a little bit of a lag in some of the people's actual submissions of their tax. As far as cash flow is concerned, we had a decrease in cash flow in February of $545,000, about $500,000, a little over. Our year-to-date net increase in cash, though, is $28,000. We almost took our increase in cash flow from last month, and January. And in February, we spent it. And there's a reason for that. I'll get to it in a second. Our percent increase in our cash flow is 0.18%. Our net income is $160,000 before our extraordinary item, which is our water sewer AR adjustment. So when you take that into consideration, our net adjusted for extraordinary item net income is $126,000. So dropping down to explain a little bit about that cash flow issue. It's the capital expense. Right after the budget was approved, a lot of the departments immediately went out and bought their hard, actual capital items, their tangible equipment, their cars, their trucks, their equipment purchases that they were planning on making for the year. They went out and spent, if you look on the actual report, year-to-date, $464,611, even though our capital budget is $7,700,000, which would have been a spend of 6.03 so far year-to-date. If you look at the CapEx portion of the $7,700,000, it's $1.2 million. So the 464, which is almost exclusively all capital expenditures, not capital improvement projects, that's 38.2% of their CapEx budget was spent in the month of February. So that's what accounted for that big swing in that cap. It is budgeted, it was there, and I just wanted you to know where the difference came from and why that negative cash flow for the month of February existed. You know, you buy it early in the period, your revenue stream doesn't keep up with that, and you're spending funds on hand. So that's how that happened. I do want to give you really quickly the weekly economic update. We watch this basically month to month and see what the trends are. There's just a couple of them I want to point out. Durable orders so far for last month was down 4.5%. Transportation orders are what basically drove that. That wasn't make that right. Consumer confidence dropped for the second straight month. It's the second straight month of decline from 108.4 to 102.9. We're starting to see a little bit of slowdown now in some of the purchases that are being made by the consumers, John Q. Public. Factory orders were down 1.8%. Wholesale inventories down 0.4%. And then unemployment rate remains stable. It remains unchanged. So what we're watching is we're watching the inventories primarily, the retail inventories and the wholesale inventories. If retail inventories start going up, that means that there's less likely that they would be involving the manufacturers to make more and the wholesalers to retain more. So the drop in the wholesale inventory is telling us a little bit about the manufacturing side. They're pulling from the manufacturing. So they want to build that inventory back up, but they're only going to do so if the retail demand is there. So anyway, as far as the municipal bonds are concerned, and what we were looking at, the muni bonds and treasury notes, their interest rates as of March 3rd are fairly high. They're sitting just at 3% for, depending on the number of years. But right now, we're getting equal to that with our money sitting in the local bank account. So it behooves us to keep it there instead of splitting those out and having partial. And the only advantage to doing the split would be the fact that you have collateralization covered, where you don't have to have the banks invest money in the market in order to cover or collateralize the funds on hand at the bank in case of bank failure. These bonds would be fully collateralized. So that's just it in a nutshell. We do monitor that. I'll give you more on that on the quarterly review that you guys have scheduled for April. Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Marsh? Thank you, sir. Good news, we have no agenda additions.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
could I suggest that we move the wherever it is on this thing, the state of the city address, to the top of the order, and then we'll conduct the old and new business afterwards.
Okay. I thought you
I
were.
thought I saw that on this agenda.
The state of the city is number 2 on new business.
It is, but I had it,
Says it's a kennel
I
contract.
added it later and
Oh,
didn't replace y'all's in your package
Yes.
so far. It's just the state of the city address is actually item number 2.
So we're not doing animal control.
We are, it's number 3.
yes, it was.
Yeah, the one that she emailed us was the updated one.
Yeah, it's on your tablet, sorry.
Are you still asking for the address to be?
Yeah, if that's okay with everyone else, I just, really.
I thought you were asking for it to be last. Or
Yeah, we can do it last. We
Second.
can do it last or first.
Let's see a raise of hands of who'd like to. Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. We can do that if council's all good. Okay. In that case,
Get your wife on murder.
yes, absolutely. She's here under duress as it is. So. I want to just do it this way this time. Is it okay? You know, go. So, time has not started yet for all those of you that are placing your bets. So, officially. Because I have a bad dad joke. Right? Tammy? Oh my goodness. Good to see you. You came back just for this?
Just for this
How awesome is that?
13-hour drive.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You are crazy. You proved
You
it.
knew that.
I did. Okay, so a fellow who loved to go out in his kayak whenever he could, and I like to do that. I went out this past weekend. That's what I like to do for my pastime. One winter it was very cold, so he built a fire on a metal lined pad on the floor of the boat. As you can imagine, the fire burned through the pad, causing the boat to sink. And this, of course, proves that we cannot have our kayak and heat it too. Thank you very much. And that concludes my speech for this evening.
Yes.
I win.
You win. Okay, thank you for enduring that. I entitled this actual speech this year. We don't always do this, but we're calling this speech the plan. Greenwood State of the City, we have to do this obviously every year by law, so here we go. I want to first of all thank you for being here tonight. I know you can be a lot of different places, and I appreciate you coming, especially that far. Tammy, you went on board for driving the farthest for this.
Thank you.
I would like to thank our city council members, A.C. Brown, Mr. Ralph Meeker, Rod Powell's not here tonight, Danny McDaniel, Tim Terry, and our newly elected Councilman Roger Rainwater, or as my dad used to call him, Ranger Rodwater. And of course, our city clerk treasurer, Charlotte Derry, and our newly elected city attorney, Mr. Travis Plummer. And our commissioners, chairs, our water wastewater chair, Teresa Burchett, our parks chair, Mr. Joe Goldstein, A&P chair, Mike McAllister, our planning chair, Tommy Basham, who recently went home. Tommy, I believe, served 24 years on our planning commission, which most of those years was the chair. We'll miss Tommy, very much as he sat here and had a lot of wise advice, and he always was a good, great, devoted member of this community. Selflessly volunteered his time, and I could always personally rely on Tommy for an honest advice and a good one-liner. He always had a one-liner for me. So we'll miss his Jeep parked at Basham Insurance. We've lost another icon. I also want to recognize our department heads, our Fire Chief Stuart Bryan, Police Chief Will Dawson, Street Department Jeff Turner, Water Tim Posey, Wastewater Dalton Moore, who is a new director, Water Treatment Greg Cross, our Finance, of course, Tom Marsh, Parks, new director Casey Craig, Planning Department Sonny Bell, and our, says right here on my notes, magnificent Human Resource and Executive Assistant Danielle Smith.
I did not write that
Let me guess who wrote this. I want to take a moment to do more than just thank, and barely started, my beautiful wife, my courageous wife, and my family. Election years are never easy on the candidates. Sometimes we forget the toll it takes on their families. So, thank you for standing by me through it all. This year, for some reason, seemed to be a little bit harder. But in the end, people spoke. I would like to report to you tonight that the state of our city is indeed strong, unlike my emotions. The current 2023 approved city budget is $18 million. Committed capital spending during 2023 is budgeted to be $7.7 million, consisting of $5.68 million of new capital spending. Means we're going to be out there doing some things this year. 2022 combined city and county sales tax revenue collections exceeded 2021 collections by 11.74%. Projected revenue from all city revenue sources is predicted to increase in 2023 by 8.73%. The city of Greenwood is fiscally strong. It's hard to believe that since June of 2014, I've been mayor of the city I grew up in, my hometown. Looking back on the past 8.5 years, kind of feels like a dream, sometimes a nightmare, but mostly a dream. When I first came into office, Parks was one of my top priorities. I just left the Parks Department, best Parks Director the city of Greenwood ever had at that time. I was the only one that ever had that. We've had several since that were excellent. I've always thought it was important to encourage people to experience the outdoors. I witnessed during my days at the Boys and Girls Club how parks, playgrounds, and trails keep families together and grow friendships. Watching my grandson now grow up, I have seen the power of nature. Kids actually putting their iPads and phones down and playing. Parks creates places where children can exercise both their bodies and their minds. But most importantly, parks are special spaces where imaginations can grow, and for my grandson, a new friend at every turn. One project, the Bell Park Promenade, began in 2010. I know many of you gentlemen up here remember when we first started. When I was Parks Director, and was finally completed last year. It offers thank you to Tammy. It offers a walking area where people can enjoy the incredible views from the top of Bell Park. The promenade connects the pavilions and incorporates both Boy and Girl Scouts projects, such as a set of musical sculptures and a variety of seating areas. It took us years, but we were able to bring these main components of Bell Park's master plan to life. And again, thank you, Tammy. I've learned that great plans sometimes seem stagnant, but evolve over time to meet the needs of our citizens. For years, we have talked about having a splash pad. We've talked about splash pad for eons. And those ideas finally become a reality as the city invested in extending sewer up Main Street, or will, providing services to both citizens and our expansion at Bell Park. Another project that began during my years as Parks Director is the Veterans Memorial. designed by the late Michael DeJong. It is one of the best tributes in our area, honoring those who have continued to serve, have and continue to serve. The addition of the eagle sculpture, appropriately named Freedom, created by local artists, makes a permanent statement depicting the underlying meaning behind Memorial Park, which honors the 13 victims of the 1968 tornado. The park is highlighted by our bicentennial 1976 clock tower, which former Parks Director Richard McKinney had repaired after it had stopped for several years. It was 315 in Greenwood for 20 years, I think. Many people talk about the importance of infrastructure, but our town is actually becoming a testament to the power of planning for growth. The new pump station out by Highway 10 made the East Village development possible. Our planning, water, and wastewater commissions worked with the builders to create an infrastructure plan that will service more than 251 new homes. We first learned this lesson on the west end of town when we extended our water and sewer lines to secure a location for Tractor Supply. Those investments led to more businesses. AT&T, Dollar Tree, Anytime Fitness moving into the area. Our primary job at the city is customer service. And part of that mission is to be builder friendly. We should and must encourage people who are willing to take risks and invest in our city. That is why we further extended our water services under Center Street to support the future Kerr development project. Other large investments in Greenwood's East Corridor include the triplexes that fill a crucial gap in rentals that economic development studies revealed our city needed. Family-owned Alpha Packaging is completing a 50,000 square foot expansion. They are also implementing equipment upgrades and automation improvements, installing, didn't know there was such a thing, the fastest box making machine in Arkansas and surrounding states that will produce 500 boxes a minute. I once worked at a box factory, so I know a little bit about that. Since having been in office, I've watched our fire department's insurance services office rating go from a class 4 to a 3 to a class 2 by the ISO Public Protection Classification Program, placing Greenwood in the top 5% of all communities evaluated in the United States. This is not only important in terms of safety, but combined, it saved our citizens and businesses hundreds of thousands of dollars overall each year. We were able to achieve these ratings with investments in infrastructure, training, and equipment. For example, we are purchasing a new Sutphen heavy-duty rescue engine in order to replace engine number 1, a 1997 model fire engine that is out of National Fire Protection Association NFPA compliance. The forward-thinking management of our fire department has led us to, thank you very much, has led us to be nationally recognized as an International Association of Fire Chiefs, IAFC Ready, Set, Go community, and for the 12th straight year, a nationally recognized Fireglass community. I would like to congratulate the 2022 City of Greenwood Fire Department Firefighter of the Year, David Ozuna, a Coast Guard veteran who is in only his second, I believe, year on the department, has earned the honor and respect of his fellow firefighters. If you've not gotten to know him, please do so. He's quite the gentleman. In 2015, we opened a new police station. Our police department has come a long way from when they were operating out of a 3-bedroom house. Over the last several years, Greenwood has been ranked either number 1 or number 2 safest city in the state. I believe sometimes we take it for granted how great of a job our police department does. I know I have. They have accomplished these incredible rankings through great leadership, community connections, and working closely with our school district. Speaking of our school district, during my time in office, I have witnessed our school district's excellence in education and action, as our schools are regularly classified among the top 5 and 10 schools in the state. We are currently ranked the number 2 best public school in the state of Arkansas, and number 5 best middle school, with East Point and Westwood Elementaries receiving the top 5% academic achievement awards from the Arkansas Department of Education. The Freshman Center was completed in 2016, giving our students a head start in college prep and technical training. Recently, I was asked to judge an academic contest where the kids at the high school presented historical figures from Abraham Lincoln to Elvis Presley. Of course, you know where I gravitated toward Elvis. But our job was to interview these kids and these students about their projects, and I was completely blown away by their knowledge of their projects. Our teachers do amazing work, and that is why Greenwood schools are the #1 best place to teach in the state. We have also been spoiled by the excellence of our student athletes, as individuals and teams have won numerous championships over the years. Thanks to the dedication of our coaches and staff, we are the #1 best place for athletic success in Arkansas and #1 high school for athletes in the state. When you can mix that all together, you've got something happening. A new designation we received is that of being a Purple Star School District. We are ranked 5th in military student enrollment in the state with 264 military students in our district. As our schools partner with Fort Smith's Ebbing Air National Guard Base, these connections will be extremely important when the F-35, F-16 fighter training program moves to this base. The Division of Public School Academic Facilities and Transportation has approved the Greenwood School District's proposed project to construct a new elementary school for the 2023-2025 state funding cycle. The school district's facilities are currently operating within a comfortable capacity, but the approval of this project will ensure that the district is well positioned for enrollment growth for years to come. This is from Mr. John Cecil himself. In the last 8 years have been incredible because of the dedication of all the people who love our city, from teachers to builders, from our women serving as police officers, men and women serving as police officers and firefighters, to our senior citizens who, I promise you, continue to inspire me. One of the things I did not know would be part of the job as mayor, but I have really learned to love, is having the pleasure of being involved with several public, private, and state organizations. Not to brag, I just want you to know that I'm out there working hard for you. I serve on the boards of Fort Smith Regional Alliance, Arkansas Economic Development Commission, Western Arkansas Planning and Development District, Engage Arkansas Area Agency on Aging, you might have guessed, Crawford-Sebastian Community Development Council, Governor's Commission on National Service and Volunteerism, and the Governor-appointed Compliance Audit Panel. And recently I was elected to be the Vice President of Arkansas Municipal League's 3rd District, which is truly an honor. I have met many wonderful people who serve their communities, and I continue to learn a lot about our state when we're going to Little Rock. These appointments help our team stay current with the newest laws, develop relationships with other mayors and lawmakers, and lets us know about grants and funding available to our city. Thanks to the hard work of our department heads, we have received millions in grants. Millions. Over the last 8.5 years, I have learned several lessons along the way that I believe will shape my next 4 years in office. The first lesson that I learned the hard way is nothing is ever simple. Nothing. I came into office over 8 years ago ready to conquer the world. You think you know what is needed and you want to get along with everyone. I still have that desire. But I discovered that anything can quickly become political, and you will never, ever make everyone happy. I found out there's a difference between getting along to get along and actually getting things done. Because decisions have to be made. That is why the people of Greenwood elected us all to make decisions. Being mayor reminds me of my days as a referee. On a good day, only half the people are happy with the calls you make. And many days, both sides are upset with the decision you make. Right? Official? Tori? I have learned to trust our city's planning process and our team. It can take up to a year or more before a project comes to a city council for a vote. During that time, our departments and commissions worked together to put a successful plan together. For example, the new senior center took almost 2 years of planning to happen. It became apparent a few years ago, even with the generosity of Farmers Bank, the old building needed major repairs. After exploring several options, we determined it would be fiscally responsible to have our own facility. Working with architects, we discovered that a new center would cost around $5 million and take several years to raise the funds to build it. We found another solution with a pre-existing building that would not only save the city $4 million, but the seniors could move in within a matter of months instead of years. And I can tell you, they are ecstatic. The second distribution of American Rescue Plan funds were committed to the purchase of the building. We paid for it. Paid cash. It's ours. However, even the most popular ideas that seem to be the best remind me that being a mayor is like, again, being a referee. At the end of the day, a decision had to be made, and we voted to take care of our city's elders. I'm so proud. Furthermore, I am happy to report that with the help of Western Arkansas Planning and Development District, we will receive a $500,000 grant to upgrade the building to meet the needs of our seniors. We have been approved for $500,000. Folks over there, when I told them, I think they're still cheering. I told them last week. Western Arkansas Planning and Development District, commonly known as Wapididdy, has been a very, very reliable partner throughout the years for us. A special thank you to Tracy McKenna and all the staff at Wapididdy. Another lesson I learned, even though it sounds like a cliche, if you build it, they will come. It isn't just a saying when it comes to infrastructure, it is a reality. This being said, we need to coordinate with RDOT on phase 2 of the bypass. I can call it a bypass now because it's passed, right? Traffic relief. We need to coordinate with RDOT on phase 2, which widens Highway 10 from an existing 2-lane into 5 lanes. This transformation will increase economic opportunities for the South Greenwood corridor. The first step will be annexation, followed by partnering with RDOT to create a 5-year water and sewage plan for that corridor. If we wait until the project is completed, our cost will go up largely. I'm not going to try that. Bigly. Sorry. It'll increase by tenfold. We cannot wait. Phase 1A of the curve, located on Greenwood's northwest corridor, is underway. Couldn't be more excited. Greenwood's northwest corridor is underway. Brahms, if I may I? Too late. Has officially closed the deal and now owns the property that they will build on. Signed off on, closed on. Additionally, the county has voted to approve a $5 million state-of-the-art library facility. MAHG architects have provided plans, and we're currently waiting for the final negotiation to be completed on that project. When I say we, it's the county, but we are. That's all of us. This project will allow us to extend water north along Highway 71 that we've been talking about for years, that we can control the economic entrance into our city. On Greenwood's western corridor, who knew we had all these corridors? We extended water under Highway 71 for the future construction of Fire Station number 3, which will service future economic development along phase 2 of the bypass. I truly would love for us to have a full-time fire department. I think we all agree this is where we are headed, where we're headed. However, the reality is we need to grow our tax base in order to make this happen. We've taken the first step. Chief just entered the room, in this year's budget. The council passed an additional personnel over there at the station, 10 hours a day, every day. So we have that staff member. Makes you feel safe. It does me. It's better. And that's a good step in the right direction. We need to be pro-growth, and we should all work together to accomplish this goal. Probably the most important lesson I've learned is nothing happens fast. That is so hard for me. I'm not a patient person. Close to 7 years ago, we started putting together a plan for a bypass. We took it to RDOT to see if the project was even feasible and how much it would cost. The initial estimate was $26 million, with Greenwood's portion being $5 million. I'm told now that's probably more like $45 million. Not our part. We're locked in at 5. Best deal in the world. We presented the plan to our citizens, who overwhelmingly voted to pass a bond to pay for it. I remember the night we celebrated out here in the lobby. The bypass project is in process with the overlay of former 10 Spur that is now Center Street. If you didn't know, that's now ours. The timing changed a little bit when State Representative Lee Johnson and myself asked RDOT. You don't ask, you don't get it if you don't ask, right? We asked for an early overlay because that was horrendous, and we got it. So now our job is to protect it. We are now focusing on channeling truck traffic through truck traffic on the truck route. So we're working on that, try to keep those heavy trucks, unless it's local delivery. We will eventually take over the rest of 10 Spur up to Highway 96. I am thrilled to announce that the bidding for building of Phase 1 of the bypass will take place this November. Now, that doesn't mean there'll be a shovel in the ground just yet, but that means the bidding process will take place in November of this year, and that's for Phase 1 through Dr. Burgess's property. As mayor, patience is not simply a virtue, it is a necessity. Even the sidewalks that are currently under construction was a 5-year project. I believe that providing a safe path for pedestrians was worth the fight to make it happen. Our goal is to improve walkability throughout the city. Nothing excites me more than the conversations we are now having, Parks Department, Planning Department, engineers, we're having about tying our trails together across the city and regionally. We're going to walk to Northwest Arkansas one of these days if you want to, right? A major part of our trail system that is especially close to my heart is the Michael Lejeune Lake Trail. Excuse me. While his name is attached to several buildings around town and across the state, I think our city's tribute to him honors his passion for the outdoors. We've started on the Cuthbert Ridge project that will be the trailhead for the lake. I know and believe that Michael would appreciate the incorporation of the 1931 Pony Truss Bridge, which was made possible by a $250,000 grant, donations, another grant that I stole from the Parks Department, and a lot of volunteers and people donating time and effort. Councilman McDaniel, one of those. We're also working toward making the old Iron Bridge walkable. I know this was a project that Tammy was working hard for. It was damaged during the last flood. If you've not been out there, it's covered. Every stick and piece of wood that was in Greenwood Lake is now attached itself to that bridge. It's rather interesting. It was damaged during the last flood, and that also affected more than 50 homes in Greenwood. These are areas that have increasingly been affected, and we continue to explore flood mitigation plans on the state and federal levels. We talked to Congressman Steve Womack about this issue, and he's going to help us. We're going to try to find something that we can do. In order to address this issue, one option is a volunteer FEMA program that buys up homes located in floodplains. Our plan is to eventually turn these flood zones into green spaces or parks and to relocate our citizens to safer areas. It's about 1.5 years away, I think. Hunter's working on it. Looking to the future. When I first came into office, my goals were personal in nature. Over 8 years, I believe I've gained a better understanding of the needs of our citizens. I have realized that the best part of my job is helping people solve their problems, a lot of times just listening to their problems. I don't have an answer most of the time. And it ranges from potholes to traffic problems to floods. And the hardest part is the fact that we do not always have the answers. But we do work. It's a collective group. We work hard, and these gentlemen and ladies, we work hard to find out who does have an answer. You cannot do everything by yourself, and I've learned to appreciate the team we've built. Our department heads and staff help people every single day. One item that became more apparent is the future growth of water, Greenwood water. As our city grows, and it will continue to grow, I believe it is vital that we start looking for a third water source. It's nothing new, but we've got to continue to search and find out what's out there. Talk to Fort Smith, and I think we'll continue to talk to Fort Smith. I think we should always, this is my opinion, I'm not on the Water Commission, but I think we should always have James Fork. I think we should always have Greenwood water, and I think we should somehow attach to Fort Smith. A contributing factor to our future growth is, indeed, F-35, F-16 fighter training program. The Air Force's Foreign Military Sales Program is expected to come to Ebbing Air National Guard Base. It's not a done deal, but it's awful close, as my good friend, Mayor Fort Smith says. And it's predicted to bring around $1 billion in economic impact to the river valley in the state. The F-35, F-16 fighter training will bring families from around the world. Singaporeans are the first to arrive. We need to be proactive in welcoming them into our community. I'm excited to see what kind of quarterback they're going to produce. Greenwood fits the bill. It truly does. Greenwood fits the bill for these families. They'll be looking for good schools. We have the best. They'll be looking for nice neighborhoods. We've got that. We're getting some new ones. And one of Arkansas's safest cities that truly feels like home. I'm very fortunate that 76% of Greenwood voters put their faith in me. Blessed. Totally blessed. And in my pro-growth, pro-community, pro-education plan. Our plan. I am committed to living up to their expectations as best I can. I will work tirelessly to represent our city on the local, state, and national levels. Short story, when I was a kid, I used to watch my dad work his garden. He could stick a stick in the ground and grow a tree. I mean, he was that green thumb. He always planted tomato seedlings, and he would put these gigantic tomato cages over them. And I always thought, as a kid, that's just the silliest thing of it. It just looks ridiculous. You've got this little bitty plant and these big cages. Well, what he was doing was planning for the future. Because he knew those seedlings would eventually grow into huge plants and produce. And that's what we're going to do. We need to do the same. We need to be ready. We need to be preparing. The city of Greenwood is going to grow. And we need to be poised for the changes that will come with that future growth. Our job is to plant the seeds for the trees whose shade we may never enjoy. May God bless each and every one of you in the city of Greenwood. Thank you.
3021.
Nobody, you went over all.
Well, mom was at 32 and it was 3101, so you were probably the closest. We were all way under, we busted all of us.
Now you know how it works. I didn't tell.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Next on the agenda is old finished business, number 1, Councilman Danny McDaniel, repeal and replace ordinance, number 02-19, setting value limit for disposition of assets. Mr. McDaniel?
Charlotte, I guess Charlotte, you got this?
I see you this week sometime.
Travis, somebody.
I did,
Thank
and
you.
Travis said it.
Um, We left this last month with, Charlotte was gonna bring us an ordinance with the amount blank that we would decide what that amount would be. I can't remember the discussion, to be honest with you, but somebody said 7,500. And, my thought is 5,000, which is what the mayor's spending limit is. So to keep things consistent, you know, I would go 5,000 here just to be consistent. Or, you know, I mean, there was one discussion, there's state law that says it's 20,000, right? So, up to 20, so. We need to go state law, go up to 20, or do this at 5,000.
I like your idea of 5,000.
I mean, 5,000 is the same number, so we don't have to remember two numbers. I can't remember one number.
It would be the same, the last sentence to be 5,000.
Yeah.
So it'd be 5,000 both.
Yeah.
Okay. Any,
Well, just think about that. That's probably fine. Yeah, that's probably fine.
Because there would be something that was bundled into a lot, right?
Well, that's one unit. The second number is one unit.
Okay.
So that could be a car,
That would be a car.
right? I mean, I suppose you could, I mean, state law is gonna give you 20, but you could say one unit. I don't know what that number would be.
Well, no, I think it still says that one unit, even if it's comprised of several things, you know, I mean, it still can't to me exceed the 5,000, that's the maximum amount. So I think it will have to be the same way I would interpret that, but
Well, you're right, AC. It's got a lot of, a lot, that's I suggest we do 5,000 in both. We'll make that a motion.
Second.
have a motion and a second.
Hold on, I've got
Go ahead. Yes,
a
sir.
question.
Yes, sir.
So section 3. You didn't get that far.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So section 3 says, I'm going to amend municipal fixed assets shall be amended to reflect all disposal of real estate, and personal property made under this section. It gives me pause with real estate. Real estate could include easements. And the reason I say this, it's been way back, and nobody's here that was affected, the person that it was given to. There was a sliver of land given out at Greenwood City Lake. Someday it could be a problem. And there was no fee, and it was quickly done. And those are things that can give us problems in the long run. And so can disposition of easements. And it could be at the very last minute of someone's term in office that's spiteful, and that could give us a lot of problems. So I don't like the fact that the real estate is added. I could care less about a car or, yes, Mr.
Let
Moore.
me clarify that. It says the municipal fixed asset listing we maintain, and that is required to have tangible real estate that the city owns and purchases on that list. Easements are not one of the things we track. This is specifically referencing we must remove that from our listing to the legislative auditors.
So in
We
this,
do track real estate though,
We do?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
but not this money.
We don't do easements on that. But this is referencing the municipal fixed asset listing, which we
Easement should
track.
not be sold.
We don't track
Right.
easements.
So if we
It
say
could
real
be-
estate,
It could be
could that be?
abandoned.
Easements usually run with the land, the dominant and servient tenements that they're attached to, so I don't know if you could necessarily dispose of them.
So we would be safe, the way the ordinance is written,
I think so.
that we would maintain all of our easements.
Well, I guess in one situation with this, when it refers to real estate, would it be applying to
Land and buildings.
land and buildings? I still think that that's, that's
I
really
still-
under the purview of the council.
Yeah, I'd still be more comfortable if this is all only personal property and real estate accepted. I could care less about a winch being given away, but a sliver of land that maybe went.
Well,
It's just saying, it's gonna be maintaining a list of it. It's not saying you still have the authority over what is and is not sold. This is just saying a record will be maintained.
does this, I think the state statute specifically said that this would go before the governing body. I mean, we're not trying to do away with, the mayor can do something in secret. We're just doing away with the bidding process of it, It's not that.
You still gotta say, we got a winch, we got lumber, we got all this.
Sure.
I value it as less than $5,000, the council, you're okay, and we say, yes, you're okay.
Yeah. But is this,
Section 3 is record keeping, that's all it is.
Right, but do you want to exclude real estate?
We have to include it on our listing. If you look at the fixed asset list that we turn over to the auditors every year, the real estate's on there. The purchase of the land at the park, the purchase of the buildings that we do, all of it's listed on there. If it's not, we get it corrected and then we have to write a supplemental finding response.
But I think the concern is, this kind of reads as selling anything, and they're worried about real estate.
This says a record shall be maintained, it doesn't say.
No, no,
approval.
but up there in section 1. it's-
Section 1, though,
Any-
it's referring to section 3.
Right, well,
Then you're gonna have to look up at section 1 and make that
Right.
distinction.
right.
I don't have this in front of me. I don't know if somebody's got a municipal book
I know.
on. In the 1454-302 is, does this not reference that, it has to be reported to the council when this is done?
After it's done,
Well, yeah. I think there's something that's upon approval of the
I
council.
think so too. I think it's making you aware
Yeah.
after
I mean, we're not trying to leapfrog the council here, we're just trying to waive the competitive bidding process, is what we're trying to do.
If you read section 1, it doesn't really sound like real estate or easements or anything like that is included in that competitive bidding process. It's just-
Well, but I don't think it's wise to do this. I mean, to Rod's point, this is not a dig at Doug by any means, just for the future. We don't want somebody to sell Stewart's Tahoe for $3,000 because they can, right? You know what I mean? So you gotta make sure that we're doing this, council's aware that you're selling something for whatever amount it is. As long as that's,
I've got the statute pulled up. You asked about 1454-302. It mostly deals with personal property, which is what we're talking about here. Section F, which is the last section of that statute. F1 says a record shall be maintained of all items of personal property disposed of under this section and reported to the governing body of the municipality. F2 says the municipal fixed asset listing shall be amended to reflect all disposal of real estate and personal property made under this section. So that's referring to it's just a master list that he keeps.
Okay.
And I see what you're saying. I think number 3 kind of blends those two
Yeah.
sections and makes it a little ambiguous.
But personal property
This is just about
excludes
personal
real estate
property.
anyway, by very definition, right?
I think it's just saying that anything we do under this ordinance should be on the fixed asset list, which records all disposable real estate and personal property made under this ordinance.
Okay.
And section 1 reads municipal supplies, materials, or equipment. That's all it says. It's not including other things, right? So that should be.
Okay with it.
Okay.
So you're okay with the wording right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
And we have a motion and a second on the amount, I believe, the 5,000.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Yes. This is the first reading. I'll read the ordinance title. So, the motion was to put 5,000, but we need to amend the motion, put it on the first reading by title only.
I so amend my motion.
An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 02-19, authorizing the mayor to dispose, sell, or exchange any municipal supplies, materials, or equipment for the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Make a motion, we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Waive second, third reading.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
We can adopt
I'll make a motion, we adopt.
it. Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the state of the city. Next on number 3 is the 2023 kennel animal control contract approval. I met along with Danielle, with Kyla with us. Kyla came in, our new animal control officer, code enforcement officer, met with owners of Mountaintop Kennels, Deborah and Michael Gray. This is the shelter out on Highway 10, almost to Washburn, that we've been using for, I guess, a couple of years now, right? We changed minor, remember
Really just minor details because we didn't have one. We hadn't had one in a couple of years. And so we just kind of, since now I and the mayor are over that department, we decided to bring her in and just sit down and just go over everything. Yeah, she's going to start administering the heartworm. I'm not a dog person, I'm sorry. A little bit of the vaccinations just upon entry. And then we agreed to, she charges us $15 a night to kennel dogs, and then $5 a night, I believe, for puppies 6 months and under.
Right.
So it was just kind of just going over, updating information. That they are a huge asset to us.
Yeah, they pretty much saved us. I mean, we were in dire straits since Fortunate closed down Humane Society, and then we just went through a couple other, trying to figure something out to do with all these dogs. They're not cats, they don't take cats, but this shelter has been a lifesaver for sure, and their rates are very reasonable. And they do a great job. I think it's almost full as we speak.
There are currently, I believe, 3 open kennels right now. We keep her pretty full. She does let us have first choice per se, instead of her using it as a private kennel to her other customers. So she lets us have first availability. But right now I believe just 3 spots are open, and we have a huge loose dog problem in Greenwood. We have a lot of, I hate to say it, irresponsible owners. that do not make sure that their dogs are in a fence. And Kyla has been doing a tremendous job of picking those up and contacting the owners to try to keep our costs down. And then, of course, we do charge more for when we have to pick them up and if they have to stay, and then when they stay at the kennel. So we are making a little bit of profit, but not much. I mean, the bills are going up every month because of the amount of dogs we're having to take in. So.
Casey started when he was had this position, doing a really good job on Facebook, notifying people of what was out there, and Kyle has followed suit with that. And she works real hard, as Casey did, trying to find the owners of these animals. It's just ongoing. It's never ending. We once in a while have interesting cases where we're pretty sure someone picks a dog up and then brings it into town, and then we kind of are stuck with making a decision what we do with it, or so we're advising people. I know Daniel's going on Facebook, I think Kyle has too, is to when you have a stray, don't. It's kind of, if you take it, it's yours until we can figure something out. So we're encouraging people not to take them, but to notify us when they are.
Because we don't know if they're really picking them up in city limits.
Right.
We've had a couple of cases recently where we've had dogs that a resident picks up and they bring it to the vet or call Kyle and they're like, I picked this dog up on Cherry Bark Bend, when really they picked it up way out there at Mount Harmony and White Oak Mountain. So obviously not in city limits. So we've made a post for asking residents, do not transport animals. If you see it on the side of the road, immediately call animal control so that we can address whether it's actually in city limits or not, because we don't want to bring any more animals in than what we already have because of the amount of the cost that we're incurring.
When you speak of costs that we're incurring, I just, it says the city will provide the wormer, but we also are paying for the vaccines, but then we try to get that from people that adopt them.
Yes.
And so
recoup that.
Yeah. So the shelter company is not laying out the expense for the vaccines.
Right. You're right. And they've been, I can assure you, if you know these folks, I think some of you do, they go above and beyond. I don't think we ever really see the true bills. I mean, I know we do for the overnight stuff, but they incur quite a bit of cost, and I'm sure they always turn it into us. Pretty basic. Did you see this one already? It's kind of basic. I think you get this too. Okay.
This mentions a monthly report that will be sent. Can we have that included in our packet?
Sure.
On the seal here.
Yeah, you're talking about from
on the monthly report.
I don't get a monthly report. I mean, we get an invoice that breaks it down.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a detailed
dogs picked up, dogs
provided each month. A detailed bill includes information for each animal. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Blah blah blah.
Sure. Yeah. We will even invite you down to see the dog if you like. Visitation.
We also get vet bills.
Yes.
We do. These go to the vet. They're our responsibility, and it's hard sometimes, and we are responsible as having an animal control officer we can't ignore it.
And our ordinance even says
Right.
that we can't, so we incur costs there.
And this is not, I mean, this is just a contract, but the problem with the situation is not just for Greenwood. I mean, we've talked, I know Fort Smith has it. I've talked to Mansfield and several smaller towns. Everybody has it, so.
I don't know, I guess we'll bring this up. The elephant in the room, the stray dog in the room. There was a discussion during budget about some dog that had been there for a long, long time.
Like that dog.
He moved in. He
moved.
He's no longer.
Is there, I mean, just, you got a 3-day holding period and then we're gonna do something unless we decide to leave it there. I mean.
Yeah, so after 3 days, after we wait our 3 days to see if the owner comes up, then Kyla puts them out, available for adoption on Facebook posts and things like that. We have made a decision, and I think that we're gonna be working on the ordinance with Travis and Kyla. I believe that we agreed on 90 days. If we have an animal out there longer than 90 days, then it goes
To the train station.
Train
to the train station,
To the train station.
to be moved.
Yellowstone family.
And Pella also, I mean, we make I don't want people to think that we're just putting them down, but we are making every single attempt to get these dogs moved out. People are not taking them with the economy the way it is. People just cannot take on another expense. She has lots of contacts with a lot of Oklahoma transport, animal rescues and things like that, trying to get them moved out. Like we have a Pyrenees up there right now, so she contacted the Pyrenees group in Oklahoma and Arkansas trying to see if they would take it. They're not interested. So we're making every single attempt we can to keep these dogs alive and get them moved out.
Is there some sort of monthly discount if you keep a dog 90 days?
Yeah.
We could probably $1,350.
If we keep it, that's what I'm saying, after 90 days, it goes on to away.
It's,
I mean, I hate to be rude, but that's $1,350 a month. That's an expense.
After 90 days, we are sending them to be euthanized.
I would also include,
I mean, I'd go more 30 days.
yeah.
well,
But you're
Well,
thinking
we're trying not to,
threat to public safety, that 90 days could be.
Yeah, but if you got a dog you care something about, surely you're going to.
Yeah, we do, yeah, if
30
it's-
days.
if it's well, I know, you would hope, if it's a vicious issue, then yes, we would address it sooner than that. Yeah.
Yes, Tom.
Just want to point out, as of right now, today, you spent 15,482, no, you spent 14,537 in animal expenses through today, and you budgeted 35,000. You spent 41.5% of your actual budget in 2 months.
We're in trouble by that.
You'll be looking at probably a resolution sometime.
I mean, in 90 days, you got a $4,000 dog. That's
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna fall.
a nice dog. I mean,
I mean, we can put them down sooner if that's what y'all want to do, and we'll get, things changed.
Mr. Plummer just informed me that we got $32 restitution just recently.
3,200.
But they pay that off like monthly though, very little amount.
Yeah, we had collected 120 restitution.
It's very expensive, I mean, it's staggering.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it, trust me, I hate it, because I'm the one that has to pay the invoice every month, and I hate doing it, because to me, that is so much money that could go to something so much better, but again, I'm not a dog person, but,
Yes, we're well aware.
I know, I'm just reminding you, but I can assure you that we are doing everything we can to keep that cost down. I mean, we can put them down after 30 days, I just feel like that may open up an issue, but, I mean, that's y'all's call, and we'll do whatever we need to do.
I mean, if you don't look for your dog in 30 days, you're not a very responsible pet owner.
Well, I don't think anybody is half the time,
I mean,
unfortunately, because we have I would say at least, 6 to 8 dogs are running loose a day in Greenwood. I mean, it's ridiculous, especially if the weather changes and they all get out, and it's awful. It really, really is.
Cats.
What?
Any way we get them to do cats and put a 24-hour roll on?
No, we just don't even mess with them because we don't know where to take them.
Well, I agree with Ralph that it's considered a vicious animal. I think it should be pretty short.
We do, yeah. Oh, yeah, we do.
We don't quote unquote mess around with it.
Yeah, we do not.
So,
I mean, over 30 days seems outrageous to me. I'm trying another $2,700. It's a lot of money for the tax-paying citizens.
I agree with
dogs
you.
back there to pay.
Is there an average time that we do have? Are they?
We've agreed on, I believe 90 days is something that we've talked about.
I mean, have you seen it that all of them go the 90 days, or is there like an average of 60
Well, I mean,
days?
we have one that we're probably about to put down, unfortunately, that she doesn't believe will be adopted out, and it's been there a little longer than 90 days. But for the most part, they're not staying 90. I mean, she's trying to get them out for the most part, but again, this is something that's really out of our control. I mean, we have to pick them up. We can put them down after 30 days, of course, if that's what you want to do, that's fine with me, but this is something that we're always going to have issues with. It's just part of.
I mean, I really like 10 days, but I'm trying to compromise.
I hear you, yeah, I hear you.
What are the What is the what is the point where most dogs get picked up by day 7, and then after that, they go, they're a lifer, they're 90 until the end of their life?
Well, pretty much. I mean, after 3 days, she posts them on Facebook. And sometimes, you know, we were doing real good on the adoptions, and then it's really slowed down. So, you know, it just depends on what kind of breed it is. You know, we had puppies out there, so that's another cost, and we got them out. We have 2 left.
So are you getting dogs picked up after they've been there 10?
Sometimes, yeah.
After they've been there 20,
Yeah.
30,
It just depends on who happens to look at that post and wants one.
55?
Yeah, and these aren't owners that are getting those dogs, these are new,
Newbies.
they're adopting, yeah, I mean, so yeah, you're right, I would say, and I mean, my dog misses for 10 minutes, I'm looking.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a lot of same day, so therefore we're not incurring a cost.
But it's-
You know, most of the time Kyle will go pick one up, and by that afternoon, here comes the people in to grab
So
it.
after 7 days, it's people adopting.
Yes, oh yeah,
Homeowners are picking them up before 7 days.
yes. Well, normally if it's really somebody's pet, it's within the same day or the very next day. But then if not,
Would be $675.
That's an awful expensive dog still.
Yeah, it's $450 a month per
Yeah.
dog. That's
And how many dogs will it hold?
15, 20, somewhere in there.
we have 15 right now, I believe, is how many dogs we have out there.
So you're at about $6,000 a month right now.
Yeah, that's about how much I've been paying.
It's beyond that. I missed that. I bet you can.
I agree with Ralph, I think 45 days.
Yeah, okay.
And does she have like does she have days where she brings them in?
Yes.
That's a big
We
adoption.
do everything we possibly can, yeah. She's went and worked on Saturday a couple of times, and, you know, we got one adopted that day. So, I mean, we're doing everything we can.
So, do you, the council, want to set a new time frame of how long we keep?
Well, that time frame's not even in here.
No, it's not.
Right?
No, this.
Yeah, we gotta change the ordinance.
What they charge and what we do with them and what they do for us. That's all this is.
So they would go by kind of what
Yeah.
Mayor Danielle says, you know, so.
I mean, we can talk about that later, it doesn't have to be now. I mean, really, we just need this
Send that approved.
so we can continue doing business.
So we have an ordinance besides this contract.
Oh,
Yes, it's like 40 pages
yeah,
or
the
something.
ordinance is, yeah, you don't remember
Yeah,
the
it's-
ordinance?
Is that a nuisance animal?
Back when Jared.
It's in there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Somewhere every definition in the world.
So I think that's a little longer discussion.
Yeah.
I think we should go ahead and say, I think 45 days is reasonable.
Yeah, we need,
Is that in the ordinance?
No.
Casey, do you know? Or-
No, we're having to bring that to the council next month to.
No, I know, but they're not wanting. I'm just
okay,
asking if there's something
the
in-
timeline for euthanasia is not specifically
Okay.
called out in the ordinance.
So
It
we
just
have,
says that
we have the
possess-
ability to.
That we can do it.
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah.
So you want to put that in motion?
I make a motion.
I say 30, Daniel says 10, and Roger says drop them off at his house.
That's not an agenda item though.
Yeah,
We have to
the-
do that
Yeah,
next
no, that's
month.
true. Why don't we,
You need to bring the ordinance
why don't
next
we bring
month.
Yeah.
this to you next month?
And then you
We're
can
not gonna
change
do
that.
much.
We can go ahead and approve this.
Yeah, we'd like the contract to be approved, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Have a motion second.
So we're 30 days or 45?
Nothing. You're gonna leave it open-ended.
Brown,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Greenwood,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
no.
Did you average?
Thank you. So, Ms. Darius, you'll put that already on the agenda for next. That'd be great. Thank
It
you.
just doesn't take us out there, so
you just
city work is supposed to do all contracts for the city. We kind of got away from that for a while. We don't have to redo this.
We should do. A&P Commission confirmation of Sammy Hassan for membership on the A&P Commission. I'm not sure who,
Make a motion to approve that.
right?
Second.
I think before we approve, he has to show up with either pizza or
Here.
or whatever.
Chicken fried steak.
Chicken fried steak. We have a motion and a second to approve, Mr. Hassan.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes?
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 5 is planning ordinance repealing ordinance 22-16, adopting all current state code. Mr. Bell.
That's Sammy to bring a dairy menu with him.
Yeah. there you go.
Always something that's been missing.
Sonny, will you do that again? That was fun.
I really want to do a video of that pizza already.
Can you do that again? Do the little circle with the podium? That was really cute.
Ballerina there.
Hey, I like that. Thank you, Sonny.
We need to catch it.
Mayor Calvin was carried. This is a ordinance repealing and replacing ordinances 0908, 1218, 1604, and 1216. It is our building code and fire code, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, bringing them up to date. We do this from time to time, and I'd like to have this approved. Again, this is a repeal and replace, so we don't amend.
Would you like it emergency like it is?
Yes.
written?
So we're repealing all those and replacing it with one. Yes. Why don't we automatically adopt?
This is what this does. This will adopt all state codes in perpetuity.
Automatically, we don't have to worry about it anymore. It's catching all of them, plumbing, electrical, fire.
I had it previously for all of the trades individually, and I've just included them all in one with the state fire code and the NFPA life safety code.
State, so IBC, International Building Code, is that part of this?
IBC, IRC, IFC,
All the cities.
all 3 volumes of the Arkansas State Fire Code.
It's not listed in here.
It's just as the Arkansas State Fire Code includes all the 3
Okay.
volumes
Okay.
and the appendices.
Is that, in section 3, is that fine? Is that the kind of the standard fine?
That was the language that came out of the previous ordinance the state fire code was in.
But that's nothing. It's a penalty section, $1,000 isn't a penalty if you're saving tens of twenties of thousands of dollars.
It may be state law, whether you think.
Okay, it's per day.
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay.
It's for instance per day.
I make a motion that we adopt this ordinance. Second.
You want to put it on first reading?
Yeah, first reading, by title only.
Second. First and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinances 0908, 12-18, 16-04, and 22-16, adopting all current state adopted building and fire codes, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes.
Make a motion that we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second, wait second, third reading.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Make a motion that we adopt.
Second.
Have a motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Wait.
Whoop, sorry.
Make a motion, we enact emergency clause. Second.
Motion second to enact emergency.
The easiest one he'll have all year.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
No.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Passes by majority. No, it doesn't.
Yes. Lord.
Yeah, I'm still operating from Rodney on
It's just a mystery.
I was just thinking four.
It's just very loud.
Right,
That's right. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Number 6, Councilman Danny McDaniel, planning jurisdiction discussion.
I think you've got these things in your packet. There's been a discussion several times, and I just want everybody to be on the same page because I don't feel like we are. With this planning boundary, we've got this ordinance 2217 that talks about the planning boundary and where it is and what it is. Then you've got the stuff that is the state statutes, the highlights are mine, the yellow highlights. And then I've consulted with Mr. Plummer about this. Did not intend to share everybody's emails in the packet, so I apologize for that, Mr. Plummer. About that and the interpretation of it, I'll let Travis speak to that if he'd like. One of the discussions that keeps coming up is that the 1 mile planning boundary only applies to subdivisions. Well, that's not what we're seeing here. So if it does, where is that? I mean, I just want us to all be on the same page about this because it's come up 3 or 4 times over the last few years. So, anybody knows how to clarify that?
Daniel, you want me to clarify it?
Sure.
We have two ordinances. One is the subdivision ordinance, the other one is the zoning ordinance. The subdivision ordinance is effective, and you can enforce that in your planning jurisdiction. You cannot enforce a zoning in planning jurisdiction. You all are familiar with Jim Von Covenant. Jim Von Covenant is a planner for the municipal league. He is a consultant planner for several cities. Every document that the municipal league uses is written by Mr. Von Covenant. He's done our comprehensive plan. When the legislature meets, they refer to Mr. Von Covenant for his information. So I found out about this in a roundabout way through the mayor. So I sent Jim information or email, and I said, I want to pick your brain on what's enforceable in the planning jurisdiction. It's always been my understanding that within the 1 mile planning jurisdiction, the city can enforce its planning ordinance, subdivision regulations to control below standard construction of infrastructure. This does not give the city the ability to enforce zoning ordinance on properties within the planning jurisdiction that are located in the county. I said we have a council that is questioning that because somebody is building some things within the planning jurisdiction but not the city limits and wondering why the planning department is allowing this to happen. And Mr. Von Covenant wrote back and says, I think you're 100% correct. Unless you're on a navigable stream, whatever that is, that you're going to have no zoning authority. The language of the statute reads, cities having a population of 8,000 persons or less shall have jurisdiction area that does not exceed 1 mile beyond the corporate limits and shall not exercise any zoning authority outside the corporate limits. Cities now having an 8,000 population or more and situated on a navigable stream may administer and enforce zoning ordinances outside the corporate limits, but they may not exceed the territorial limit under the subdivision. Now, the question has always been kind of a gray area. What is a navigable stream?
Arkansas River.
And I
6 Hunter on that. And Hunter talked to the Corps, he talked to several people, and he got the best definition of a navigable stream that I could come up with. And he went back to an 1800 law that said a navigable stream was basically where you could float a canoe down it and trade furs. And then he brought it up to date. 2, navigable waters of the United States are those waters that are subject to the ebb and flow of the tide and are presently used or have been in the past or may be susceptible to use to transport interstate or foreign commerce. A determination of navigability, once made, applies literally over the entire surface of the water body and is not extinguished by later actions or events which impede or destroy navigable capacity. Also, Hunter came up with a list of navigable waters in Arkansas, and Greenwood is not on them. So the question is, can we enforce the zoning ordinances in our planning jurisdiction? No. Can we enforce our planning and subdivision regulations? Yes.
And those planning and subdivision regulations, planning regulation could be commercial development planning, couldn't it?
See what? If our subdivision regulations, our ordinance that has subdivision regulations, we can enforce that. And we can enforce, but we can't enforce zoning, and we can't enforce commercial. It's for infrastructure purposes. It's for building roads, laying pipe, and those type of things. In other words, the area out there on 96 where they flattened that out, and they're building 5-acre lots. Now, if they were 4-acre lots, they're in our planning jurisdiction. We could make them build road star standards. We could make them put curb and gutter. We could make them put decorative lights and things like that. They're 5 acres, they're over 5 acres, so that flows that out of the water, and so they're out of our control.
If they were less, then they would fall underneath our subdivision regulations.
If they were less than 5 acres.
Which we could enforce.
Yes.
Okay, so hold on there. Look at this thing we've got here. 1456-401. And my understanding of the navigable stream, which has nothing to do with Greenwood, Arkansas, by the way, is you've got this 1 mile boundary. You're fortunate Arkansas, bordered by the Arkansas River. You can't tell you can't declare what's going to go on in Van Buren. It's on the other side of the navigable stream. That becomes the boundary. That doesn't involve us. 1456-401 says the subchapter shall be construed liberally, et cetera, first by cities. 1456-403 says the plans of the municipality shall be prepared in order to promote, in accordance with present and future needs, the safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, and general welfare of the citizens. Plan may provide, among other things, for efficiency and economy in the process of development, appropriate and best use of land, convenience of traffic and circulation of people and goods, safety from fire and other dangers, adequate light and air, health and convenient distribution, good civic design, adequate public utilities, wise and efficient expenditures of funds. I mean, I'm talking about Stewart can go out there and talk to them about safety from fire and other dangers if they're in our 1 mile planning boundary.
I don't think so. I think Stuart.
Well, that's what the state law says.
Well, I think, if you'll let me finish, I think Stuart ran into this with the church out there off of Highway 10 behind the new senior citizen. But that, you had to defer to the state fire marshal on that because it was outside of the city limits and it was in the county.
Counselor, you're the attorney in the room. I mean, we were looking at a state law that says one thing, and we got Jim Von Tobin telling us his opinion about it. I mean, I don't.
So what are we talking about? What's the area of concern?
Well, for example, Well, what you just said, that piece of land out there. We're gonna develop this piece of land. I think the city, for plans, should be able to go out there and say, you know, I mean, we need to be involved in what's the plan for this piece of property, where are you gonna put this road? What's the water sewer lines? I mean, all of those things that involve the plan of the city, you know. I don't think we could sit over here and say, well, it's not in the city limits and it doesn't meet this little box, and so we're gonna let you do whatever you wanna do. And then there it sits, you know. If you took that approach to the curve out there and said, well, we're gonna let you do whatever you wanna do.
That's why we annexed the curve.
I know that, but if you said, I'm just gonna let them do whatever they wanna do because it's not the city, and then later they wanna annex, which is what I understand that John Paul Dean wants to do, and his properties, I mean, he built that nice. I mean, you know, I think he's built it to code or whatever, you know, speaking of the storage buildings out there on Valley View, yeah. You know, but I think the city ought to have the jurisdiction to plan in our planning boundary.
We do, but it's the planning ordinance that we enforce, not the zoning ordinance.
Are we talking about zoning outside of the city limits?
I'm not talking about zoning, I'm talking about all of these, that list of things. I mean, you're talking about the efficiency and the economy of the process of development, the best use of land, which sounds like zoning to me. You know, the appropriate best use of land, I mean, that's zoning. Convenience of traffic and circulation of people. I mean, are you gonna let somebody do something that screws up the traffic flow here because they're 2 blocks outside the city limits? I mean, I think that's the whole spirit of the whole thing, is to go, you know, I don't want some guy to just stand right on the other side of the line over there and do something that's bad for the city with this armor of, I'm not in the city, right? You know, if you're 6 miles out of the city, that's a different story, obviously.
State statute 1456-413 is the one that says that we cannot enforce our zoning ordinances. So if the council and the mayor wants us to start trying to enforce zoning ordinances in the county, we'll do it. But Mr. Plummer will have to defend that in court.
Where does it say that, Sonny?
I'm looking at territorial jurisdiction 1456, 413, section 2A, and then down at the bottom 4.
Section 2A2, cities now having 8,000 population or more shall have the authority to administer and enforce planning ordinances outside their corporate limits as follows. For city of 8,000 to 60,000, jurisdictional area would be for 1 mile.
So why can't we
That
enforce
doesn't say anything about
planning
zoning.
ordinances? It says nothing about
We do.
it. We can enforce planning
Yes,
ordinances?
that's my point. We can enforce planning, and we've done that in the past.
So we can enforce our commercial planning ordinances?
But we can't enforce zoning.
I'm not asking about zoning. Commercial planning ordinances, if somebody went out.
But a commercial planning commercial ordinance is not the planning. The planning is subdivision regulations and the issue of bringing in plot plans, construction plans, going through the department head studies and things like that, like we normally would do as a subdivision within the city limits. That's our subdivision regulations that we can enforce.
This right here that we just adopted about the fire code.
Yeah.
That, within 1 mile in your planning, that, you can enforce that.
I cannot. My licensure is dedicated to the city limits. And once I'm out in the county, I'm not covered by the city's umbrella.
And you might ask Stuart the same thing, I don't
It's a
know.
different can of worms, it sounds like.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
covered by the state fire marshal, so if he decides he wants me to go out there and uphold the code, that I can do that.
If you're representing him, not the city.
And so am I guess going to like what Daniel's saying, if somebody just outside our city limit, they have 20 acres and they want to put in a,
Liquor store.
not a liquor store, I'm just saying,
That's a case, if somebody outside the city limits wanted to put in a liquor store, and they got approval from the state, they could do it.
about a salvage yard.
Yes. They can do that. You got that right over here.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
But we don't have jurisdiction over that. Now, we do have somewhat because we have a floodplain manager that has to deal with the federal end of it. But as far as...
Good civic design and arrangement, convenience of
But as
traffic,
far as
appropriate
him,
use of land.
you know, taking stuff over there and digging a hole and putting it in there, we can't really do anything about it. Now, like I said, I'll do whatever you want to, but Mr. Plummer's the one that's gonna have to defend us in court. And I've got a guy here that, like I said, that is an expert on planning for the state, whether you agree with him or not. He is the expert telling us that we can't do it.
I mean, what you're saying right there, I mean, you can look out the mayor's window and see a city dump being put in here on a floodplain.
Exactly.
That's absurd to me that
But
the
that is-
city can't
But
manage
that is
that
the county's,
situation.
that is the county's jurisdiction, and they're working on it right now as we speak. They're working on it right now as we speak because Hunter has been dogging that and working with the federal government and FEMA on doing something about it. But as far as him going over there as a inspector, that's not it. He's doing it under his floodplain manager license.
I'd like, if, Mr. Plummer, I'd like to have some clarification because it just doesn't seem, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not trying to throw rocks at you, Sonny, about this at all. I mean, I'm just saying, it's crazy to me. I mean, Mike McAllister's property came up the other night, you know.
Which one?
Well, you said it's not the city limits, I can't do anything about it. It's right there. I mean, it's city limits right beside it. So, you know, you can go do something hazardous or whatever you want to do out there, and we're all gonna sit over here across the street and say, I can't help that, it's across the
If
street.
it's hazardous, we would work with the county because that's their jurisdiction to do something about it. Just like we're trying to work with the county and the federal and the state on this property behind us.
I mean, this 1456-403 seems to fly in the face of what Mr. Von Humbolt's telling.
And so, a scenario, speaking of throwing rocks, we get throwing a rock over here off the property in Joe Comer's place. If Joe Comer wanted to erect a 3-story, supersized Comer, whatever, it's gonna look terrible, won't be the code. We have no business going across the creek from City Hall and enforcing the fire code, plumbing code, electrical code, nothing. These are all planning codes and ordinances, but we can't enforce it 100 feet over here behind City Hall.
No. Now, fire code and things like that, we have ways of doing it, like I said. Like,
Yeah, Stuart called the state fire
Yeah.
marshal, the state
Yeah.
fire marshal said, you work for
And-
me as well as you work for the city.
And we would contact the county, and we would try to do something with the county like that.
I mean, you get the point I'm making, right? That, I mean, what you're saying,
Greenwood City Building Code,
compared to that right there, that says you can.
to me, it looks like Pat says that we can enforce Greenwood City Building Code, 100 feet from City Hall, even though it's not in the county, it's in our, even though it's not in the city, it's in our planning jurisdiction. And you're saying, Jim Von Togman, you say they can't. You agree? You need a month?
I'm gonna have to look into it. I'd like to see our master planning ordinance. I'm not that, they're thick. You know, I've seen them, I've not read them in their entirety. But I think we're kind of blurring the lines of zoning versus planning. I think I can make an argument there's a health and safety hazard over there and we could enforce it.
I can
see zoning not being
I agree. I'm not trying to argue zoning necessarily.
I think zoning's out.
Yeah, I mean, that you go say, this is C2.
I think we could do it a mile from here. It's not 2 miles from here. There's a health or safety hazard or something that falls under, you know, safety from fire or other days.
And in those cases, that's when we appeal to the state. Yes.
The state fire code is the fire code, the building code, and the residential code. So that can all be enforced by state fire marshal's office. And so we'll call him, he'll send one of his inspectors, who's got 2 right now, it's about it right now, but one of them will come up within a day or 2 and go through and look at the building, and they go through it, and then I get all the hate mail from the people that we called it on, because they say, well, why didn't you call them on me? But when it's not at city limits. But when it's a safety issue, then I have that obligation to the state fire marshal to let them know. And so they want us to let them know. The new fire marshal, I don't know if he's as politically balanced as the last one we had when it comes to pick and choose your battles. He's more in enforcement. So if it was a building, somebody says, "Church, anything you do about it?" I said, "Well, I know what I can do about it. That's why I'm going to call state fire marshal and see if they'll come and look at it." And he's never had me go look at anything for him, but they'll come up and do that. But the building code is under it. Now, whatever you guys adopt as city, anything besides that on top of the state fire code, he can't enforce. He can only enforce what the state fire code says. Now, if it is a city ordinance in the city, and y'all do it, I can enforce that on the fire side. But I can't, you can't do anything.
You work for the state fire marshal as a fire marshal.
Yes, the mayor and I both, when we took our oath of office, basically there's a state law that says that the fire chief is the fire marshal of the city, and that comes under the state fire marshal. So if it comes down to the fire marshal issue, he and I'd be sitting in his office, the state fire marshal, answering to him, and he'd be saying, "I don't know what you're talking about, talk to Stuart." And he'd say, "Us, but both of you, because you both took another." And so I have to make sure that I'm covering everything, keep him happy and keep state fire marshal happy. And so
that's what we do with the ADQ and other state, other state agencies. We use them in places where we don't actually have the ability to enforce something, but we know it would be against state law or something like that. The ADQ is looking at this area over here, and that's because we brought them in. The floodplain for the county is now under Wapatiti, and they're on it. So we've got different agencies coming in on that, and I think you'll see something happen to that. I mean, that's just an isolated incident, but that's how we're handling it.
Over here, 100 feet past City Hall, we can't enforce a setback.
No.
And side.
That's our zoning.
Well, if you say that's zoning, I guess on that 14-56-1413, B, and there it says the planning commission shall designate the area within the territorial jurisdiction for which it will prepare plans, ordinances, and regulations. Now, wouldn't our commercial guidelines be considered a regulation?
That would be a Mr. Plummer question.
I mean, you've got, you know, I'm not terribly hung up about the zoning part of this, but I would like to understand, you know, for somebody to clarify to us, because again, under 14.4 or 56.403, you have the appropriate and best use of land, and good civic design and arrangement. I mean, that sounds like zoning, right? Or planning the, what's gonna go there. And then, you know, under the heading of all of this, you get down to 56416, and you've got a zoning ordinance. Hang on, you got, planning commission created, members, blah, blah, blah. Preparation of plans in 414, land use plan, commission may prepare and adopt a land use plan which may include, but shall not be limited to, reservation of space and preservation of natural resources, existing uses, blah, blah, blah. 416 then goes into a zoning ordinance. I mean, you got a zoning ordinance that's coupled with this entire group. I mean, I'm happy to be the guy that's wrong, but somebody's wrong. I mean, if that's me, that's fine. I'm not, you know.
I'm telling you, like I said, I go,
I mean,
but Jim has been my go-to person for years, and he's been in this business for many years, and I know that he's well respected, and like I said, everybody from the state legislature to the municipal league goes by what Jim Von Tugman says, and when
I mean, it seems to me like if you walked over there to Joe Combers and says, I got this Arkansas state law that says I have the authority to be over here enforcing the appropriate use of land within a 1 mile jurisdiction of our property, our city limits, and there was 10 guys standing there looked at it, they'd go, Sonny's right, he's got the authority to come over here and tell you to do that.
I don't know, how did the sheriff tell you that you had the authority to do
No, I
that?
got trespass.
So, if I may, I don't pretend to know this stuff, quote unquote. I do know what Mr. Von Tunlin has told us, and I know he's been here before. I think everybody in council has spoken. I don't know if Mr. Meeker was here then, but he came and spoke, and whether we got a lot out of that or not, but I would suggest, I don't think we're going to get settled tonight, and I agree that there's some, nobody wants us to be able to control with everybody. I think, and I know Sonny is too. I think that out there on 96 would be nice if it was under our direct supervision, but it's not, evidently. I think it's even outside the mile, I guess.
No, it's within the mile, because 96 is our, we have
That is
96,
it?
so
Okay.
it's 1 mile on either side of 96.
Yeah. So but the only thing about referring to this over here, I'll just say that I sat here for 8 years here, and then I sat out there for that long, and that over there did not happen overnight. That's been happening for 30 years, 20 years. And I know we can still talk about it, I'm not saying we can't, but do know, and please know, that there is action being taken, and it's not, and it is stemmed from that office. So there is action being taken, and you have to be careful of that sort of thing. You got federal, I don't know who all went, I didn't go, I'm kind of glad I wasn't invited, to be honest with you. I think there was a small army that went over there, and as he said, Leonard was asked by the deputy to leave. But, so it's under investigation, and that's not about who owns that or anything, it's just, and I know that's what we're talking about in the future. And I know a lot of this, if I may, it stems from these storage units that we keep seeing pop up, and nobody's thrilled about that. But anyway, I'm saying all this to say, I think Mr. Plummer needs an opportunity to do some studying, not because he doesn't know, but just because this is fresh, I think. And then to also get with Mr. Von Tunlin, who will come back, I know for a fact, maybe either to council or to visit with Mr. Plummer, either one. I just think there needs to be some clarification. I think that's what you're looking for.
I agree.
So
And I'd like to review all our ordinances.
Yeah, to get on the same page. I know it's hard. I know it's hard for Sonny. I know it's hard for Hunter. I witness it every day when people come in and.
Believe me, I have to grit my teeth sometimes and know that I can't say no. And that bothers me sometimes. Because I don't want to get the city in a situation where we're ended up in a lawsuit that we're gonna lose. And that's what reason why
We just
I'm gonna reach out to people but I think, again, I would like for Mr. Plummer to look at this and
The easiest way would be to annex all this.
oh, yeah. But then you've got another mile. Yeah, continue
And
to
of course,
move
now
out.
Get
there's
another
that-
mile to worry about, but at least you could get 100 feet behind City Hall. And
Well, and that's why, as I said earlier in that speech, is as we go out, we gotta get prepared, and we gotta, hopefully someday, a whole other crew here in 20 years is not having to deal with the same thing out on 10.
And for your information, Rod, I sent letters to all the property owners on the south side of Highway 10 between Sweco and 71, inviting them to come into the city. We've got some people that live out there that want to come into the city, and I'm kind of extending an invitation and talking to them. And I had a phone call from him today that he's not real happy about it, but I told him, I said, right now you have a choice, but it might not, it might come down to something else.
how do we assist them?
Do I?
How do we assist them in coming in?
Well, what we'll do is if they want to come in, then they can petition the city to bring them
Then once they petition the city to come, bring them in, they have to go get released from the county?
in. Yes. Yeah, you always have to get released from the county, but the county doesn't have any issue with that. I mean, that, I've never seen them turn anybody down for that, as long as somebody, is wanting to come out. And I think we've got 2, 3, something like that along that highway. I sent out 14 letters, and so I think some of them will come in. One of them's even changed the name of this property to the Highway 10 Bypass Trust or something like that, like he's ready to go. But I kind of watch what I'm not promising anything. They've got water. They're all on huge acreage, so they're not really looking for sewer. But with the expansion of Highway 10, if we ever are going to do infrastructure out there, that would be the time to do it.
I guess Stuart could draft a letter saying for their insurance company, saying you're now under the protection of the city of Greenwood Fire Department.
And that's what I talked to him about. And he said, well, we have fire protection from so-and-so, so-and-so. And I said, yeah, you're paying a fee for that every year too. And I said,
We'll give you that letter.
Under Greenwood, you won't have to pay that fee. And so, like I said, that wheel is turning. It might, I would say, it'll probably come down to an election. I can't see 100%. You're never gonna get 100%. But I think we'll put a big dent in it.
Sure.
What, do we know what the reason is that they do not want to annex?
Nobody wants to.
And
They want to be able to build a chicken house. And the city wouldn't, they're afraid the city won't let them do it. They want to know that if they want to build on their house, they don't have to get a permit. They can do it whatever they want to. They can get their brother-in-law to wire it. And the city, Greenwood has ordinances that says they can't do that. So it's just a,
Mayor, you brought up the storage unit. Can we revisit that for a moment?
Sure.
While we're talking about planning, the storage unit out here that we talked about last month. And you told us, Sonny, that they had gone and gotten a variance.
Yeah, and I misspoke on that. They did not get a variance on that. We looked at that, and there was no reason for a variance because they had a plot plan, they had construction plans, they had elevations, they had landscaping, they had everything that was needed for that project. So they did not need a
But our
variance.
storage units not, they're, whatever the word is I'm looking for, they belong in industrial zone property.
The storage, the C2 is for businesses for the motoring public. That means businesses that you travel to in your car. And storage facilities are one of those.
I thought storage facilities were specifically for, designated for industrial zone.
No.
That's what we were told.
it's one of the things that you can put in an industrial zone, but it's also one of the things that you can put in a C2. There are so many things listed in C2, but not everything's listed in C2. I mean, there's not, if you look under flooring, I mean, under C2, flooring is not, flooring business is not in there. You know, a garage door repair company is not on there. There's so many businesses that are not listed, but it's what it is called for motoring public, and that are businesses that you travel in your car to get to.
What would we need to do to change that so that it goes to industrial? So that doesn't happen again.
I would say that we can make that change on our zoning, and in the meantime, if you guys wanted to go ahead with a moratorium on storage facilities, that would be the thing to do. But we know that we've got one that's circling right now.
I would absolutely like to go ahead with that moratorium.
I don't know if you have to have that in a resolution form, or if you could do that verbally, or what.
Supposedly, it's been an ordinance in the past always. But I don't know if state law says you can do it under resolution, do you know?
It can be a resolution if it's temporary in nature.
I guess I did a moratorium for 90 days, whatever.
What's temporary,
Well, it's not making it a law, you're just saying, stand by till this is figured out.
I'd say do 6 months if Mr. Plummer's comfortable with that, do the moratorium for 6 months.
What is the limit on a moratorium? Do you know?
I don't know, if you look up moratorium, they don't make it any longer than it takes to write the ordinance. You know, that's kind of.
I figured that.
Is it like,
I think the longest I've seen in our past historical records is 180 days.
You said last month that C2 does not allow for storage units.
Yeah, I went back and I read that, and like I said, it's designed for motoring public. And checking with the other planning, they said that it's any business that you have to drive your car to get to.
So all this conversation about state highways and Center Street,
Yes.
that has nothing to do with it.
It didn't have anything to do.
and so are we going to be like, I mean, with residential, we've gone from R1 and R2, now we're up to like an R5, whatever. So do we need to just be more specific with C, commercial? I mean, have like a C1 designation, a C2, and then a C3 or something like that?
Well, we have C1 and C2 right now. We did have a C3, and that was for an entertainment district or something that we had some time ago. But I think a moratorium on storage rooms, and then, as Daniel said, put storage facilities are available only in industrial areas in our zoning, similar to what we do with mobile homes. You know, we have an R4, I think it is, for mobile homes, and that's the only place they can put them.
Cheryl, for the April meeting, I'd like to place on the agenda moratorium on storage buildings.
Do you want to just put a blank in there? For how long?
A blank in there at the moment for how long?
Until our zoning and planning ordinances are updated.
Well, we can do that, next month.
Well, and then you can say not to exceed it.
Do we need to do it though now? I mean, if he said one is hovering or whatever.
Well, that was about to be my next question. I mean,
If you're gonna do a moratorium, I mean.
I don't want somebody to come get issued a building permit between now and April,
Well, the place that we're talking about is unbuildable.
which is in floodplain.
It's in the floodplain. The area that is out of the floodplain is not big enough to do any type of building on, for the concrete pad was for the barber shop, that's about it.
That's not very big.
No.
So he can't fill that land and alter that floodplain.
No, and we have, Hunter, would you like to address what we did today?
Yeah, I can. I mean, we just sent it to him. Should we wait till he gets that on?
No,
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, let's wait. The process has been started on that.
I guess we could say we issued a notice of violation. that starts the process.
To unfill what you filled.
That is part of it.
You want to add the moratorium tonight? You have to do it on the agenda to vote on. Or do you want to wait?
I would like to add it as an item, that's B 8, I think.
Yeah.
Or no,
I would second the motion to add it to item
You
eight.
don't have to have
The moratorium.
So now we need to know.
So if somebody showed up and wanted to go out and look for a park. We'll exclude them. if there's a problem.
But we gotta listen to Tom before we do that.
Period.
I mean, Tom has a turn first.
Yeah.
You're on the agenda ahead of that.
with tornado signs.
No, finance was.
The mayor hasn't moved on yet, Mr. McDaniel.
I'm sorry, what? Thank you, Mr. Bell. Okay, number 8, finance resolution amend 2022 budget for tornado siren warning system expenses.
You want to take that? I just wrote the resolutions.
I can.
Yeah, Daniel.
I don't have a copy of it, but, so there's 2 items that we need to adjust the budget for. There's a, I don't have the totals with me. Thanks, Tom. Thanks. Yeah, okay, so we have one, these just failed to get, well, this first one that's $4,900, that's the invoice to remove all of the 5 old sirens. And that one just did not get on the agenda, there was a mistake. And then this other one,
Hold the siren.
I'm sorry.
Hold and sirens for remove.
Yeah, and the water department has gotten all those picked up and removed from the locations. This other one at $16,000, that's one that I didn't know about, and so therefore I couldn't put it in the budget. I think Chief may have mentioned it at one point, but I didn't know it was coming. It's the solar option, and so we just need to get that added to the budget so we can get them paid.
Solar option you guys approved in October of 2022, didn't get in the budget.
And they didn't send us the invoice till just like last week.
So none of this is in the budget?
No. It's $21,352.50 is going to be what's added to the capital expenditure account.
But it's already happened.
Pardon?
But this has already happened.
It hadn't been paid yet. The bills came in. You approved the one, you didn't know about the 4,900, which is the removal of the poles. Or the,
I don't
need down poles.
I don't think any of us knew, and I can cheat on
We
this.
approved the 16 in the budget.
You did.
Last year,
Yeah.
when Chief Dawson brought it to us, we approved the amount.
Okay.
It did
I
not
just
get
didn't
completed,
know
and
this
it
was
was
coming in.
inadvertently not carried over.
Kind of didn't realize there was a charge to pull the poles, the old poles.
Yeah, that as well. See, so Will has done all the communicating, and then the mayor's office pays the bills. And so I didn't know that this 16,000 was coming in order to put it in the budget. And then this one was just accidentally left out of the budget for this year,
So-
4,900.
If I remember that, there was the sirens, and then we found out after the fact that didn't include poles.
Right, so we had to buy poles.
So then we bought poles, so this 16,000
It's
includes
just the
poles.
solar
No, that's
option
just the solar option.
on the 5 poles.
Backup, solar backup.
Yeah.
Are these the people that put the crooked pole up in Bell Park?
We're gonna get that moved. We're getting it moved.
They are the same.
They're gonna get us,
Same.
I don't wanna overstuff, but, the mayor has contacted them, and we're gonna see about putting it back a little bit, however Wade will still
The Parks
not
Commission
mess.
approved that?
I know, I don't believe,
No.
so.
No, nobody, no. It doesn't, the point is it's being moved.
Yeah, yeah.
We did not know, it was a surprise to me as it was to you to see it.
And y'all are moving it, and the Parks Commission's okay?
They are aware that it will be in the park.
We're gonna put it in the park.
They're in a spot.
Up in Bell Park, we were not aware of it.
Parks Commission's in charge of the,
I just
Parks
pay
and
the bills, I was not involved in that, I'm sorry. Yeah.
They were not aware of where it was, where it is, guy. And believe you me, before I got to the top of the hill, I had him on the phone saying, come get it and move it. We will get with the Parks Commission, we as in myself, and
I like a Charlie Brown Christmas.
it's between the playground and the gazebo. right beside
They're
the
supposed
road.
to be getting us a price on moving it
We
kind
now
of
have to
towards the
pay
back
that,
of the
but-
tree line. However, it will still provide the best coverage.
So,
That is, it's back. I talked to Cindy about it as I would.
so the law says Parks Commission's in charge of all the parks property.
Yes, I'm aware, but like I said, that wasn't I didn't do any of that. I'm just paying the bills.
And if the parks is gonna put one up there, can you get one that's not crooked?
Well, that's safety calm, who installed the poles, that's their
They
issue.
did it without,
Okay, so
So how did they just went and put poles wherever they wanted to?
No.
No, the chief and I got with the alarm folks and designated with their advice of where new sirens should be appropriately placed in the city to do the best coverage. One happens to be in Bell Park. It was never agreed, and I'm sure the chief didn't want to speak for him. I did not say, put it right here on the side of the road. I'll just say that we didn't tell them to put it where they put it. They've now been told to move it at our expense, unfortunately. But it'll be moved. It will remain in the park with the Parks Commission's full blessing. But that's where it needs to be in the park to do the right service, if you will.
So with that said, none of that has to do with this resolution.
No, I just need permission
So-
to pay them for the work that they've done.
It's about solar
It has to do with
backup.
to pay for bad work.
Well, no, this is the solar feature that you've already approved, just to go in the budget, and removing the old poles that were taken down. They took them down. Has nothing to do with where the new ones are, has nothing to do with the other
We're
parts.
gonna get that
I want to
addressed.
make sure you don't nix this, because this is totally something totally outside of the workmanship of the other.
And we
But
can't,
is it with safety calm?
Yes.
Both installing the new one?
But you
Removing
guys already
and
approved
installing.
the installation of their solar to the new ones.
Yeah. This is just removing those old ones, the ones we had, and then the solar option on the new ones.
Now,
That's
where
what
it
the two
goes and
invoices
all
are.
that, that's up to, it's totally outside of the realm of this resolution. It was good discussion.
Well, I still think that, if we're approving the solar option on the new structures wherever they go,
Correct.
They're already up.
they're already
Wait,
up.
this has already been put on.
And so if we pay this, then we're saying, oh, we're fine with, they're already up.
No.
we came in
They
for the
know.
solar.
Steve with Safety Calm knows that we are unhappy with the location of the siren in Bell Park, and they are working with us to get it ready. So unfortunately, I'm sure that you've seen, these are not working. The new tornado sirens are not working due to a radio issue. And so we have been in constant contact with Safety Calm. The radios are set to arrive on the 23rd, and we should have them installed on the 25th. There was some kind of weird mix-up with the frequency.
I know what the mix-up was, the people that have been taking care of our sirens
Yeah.
since I started working here, we called them for the frequencies, so they get the radios, and they give us the wrong ones,
Not Safety Calm.
not safety com.
Yeah.
So this is being done in March and April, it's kind of crying for it.
This is not the city's, we are not at fault. This was an issue with the
So we're not,
communication provider.
we're not covered right now.
No. And we
We're-
did let our residents know
we're
that.
covered the old-fashioned way. The
Yep.
police and the fire both know that they are to do like they used to do and do the,
Okay.
So, but to relocate the crooked pole up there at Bell Park, that's gonna be on us to pay the cost to relocate.
that one pole, yes. And I agreed to that because even though I did not say put it here, I didn't say don't put it there. And there was a Bell Park location decided between the chief and I, but we didn't say put it right here.
Well, what's the cost?
And I don't
We
want,
haven't been told
we
yet.
don't know the
That's
cost
not-
of it.
So
We
it's
don't,
in the
that's not
budget?
in this.
So it's not in the budget, so you're gonna be back next month. amending the
No,
budget.
if it's under $5,000,
I can-
it's
Yeah.
up to him. Per your resolution.
but we're going to go ahead and pay them for.
We're paying them for something that they've already done, a service they've already
But
provided.
it still is all encompassing to safety cost.
No, you've already approved the solar, it's already put on, and when they move it, they're gonna move it too.
So here's the urgency.
Right, but it's all going to safety cost.
Safety,
But safety comm is not our issue. Our issue is our communication provider, is the reason why the sirens do not work. We will have to come back if it's over 5,000 for the one pole to scoot back, but that was more our fault than necessarily theirs, because we didn't say, don't put it right here in Bell Park. We just agreed on Bell Park. So right now, we just have to pay them for services that they have already done for us. Because I was unaware that this was coming in, or I would have put it in the budget.
this is merely a
and already taken
budget
care of it.
resolution to put it into the budget officially. The work was already approved by you in October and performed. So,
I know, but was it performed to our satisfaction?
yes,
Yes.
the location is the difference. It's not-
Just the one pole
And you're-
location.
But I would think location is part of our satisfaction.
Well, that's not.
It is, but we didn't tell them, do not put it across the street from the playground.
Are we gonna, so there's some urgency, and Councilman Powell pointed it out, it's March.
You gotta get this.
The urgency is that we get it done.
I've got to pay these two.
And I don't understand why
And
we
then he's
would,
gonna get the new radio put in on the 20th.
even though this is just 20 minutes, we're delaying getting them paid so we can get the rest of this. This has been a real pain for all of us involved, and you're just now hearing our issues. Yeah, so we're just giving it to you so we can get paid.
So, Mayor, you did say that the police do have, and fire have a warning system.
In their cars, it's the old-fashioned driving around the neighborhood.
And he has extra patrolmen
And-
on when we have chances of
And
storms.
they
I
open,
mean, we've doing everything
they
we
go back
can.
manually and all that's been on fake. And this is not a good situation, it's a
No,
horrible
we know.
situation.
Yeah.
And believe me, I know it's March.
It worked.
We started this
And so
a month and a half ago.
So
And then-
did we get to pick any of the 5 locations?
Yes.
We picked them all.
Yeah.
We picked all of these, some of them went right back where they were. They weren't all new locations. The new one, for sure, the Bell Park, and I think there was one other. Some of the other ones, like Mr. Councilman Terry's front yard,
That one's
is
gone.
still there. So we didn't, there wasn't all new ones, there was, I think
No,
we added,
the one but the right next to 10 is gone.
but I thought they were putting it back there.
I think it's back up,
Well, it's
Higher, isn't it?
close.
yeah.
He'll still
He
hear.
can hear
And
it.
it's even louder now.
Yeah.
Will be.
Yeah, yeah.
So that one is a horrible mistake, believe me, I know. I called them, and it will be removed as soon as they.
Well, we're waiting on the radio frequency.
And then, yeah,
issue to be
and then the
resolved,
radio's,
and
of
then we
course,
can
is the
worry about
22nd,
cosmetic
I
issues.
think.
23rd and then the 25th, he'll install the new radios, and then we'll be good to go.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Have a motion, and a second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
And so we're gonna be paying for work that we're not pleased with. I still don't understand.
The part that we're not pleased with is the part that we did not tell them. We did not tell them that we're to put that in the park. We just said in Bell Park. And we just don't like where they put it, so that's our choice. But no, we're satisfied with safety comm. The issue is our communication with the communication provider.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Rieger?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Number 8 is moratorium on storage
Yeah.
facilities.
I make a motion that we adopt a resolution
Look at me, I just paid
Yeah, whatever it is.
issuing a moratorium on the building or permitting of storage units in this city or its planning boundary. You don't have to say planning boundary, something.
Humorous.
Until
What'd you say?
we have.
Territorial jurisdiction.
Yeah, our territorial jurisdiction. Until we have revised our planning ordinances.
Second.
First and 3 seconds.
Is that a resolution or we locking it? Because all of our passages have been ordinance. All right, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Maker?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
And it's unanimous. Moratoriums, though, all of them I've seen have been for a set number of days. Not set until nothing, open-ended. They've all been a set number of days, so there must be
Yeah.
something to that.
It's not
Well, his timeframe was until the zoning ordinance was.
I know, but it doesn't declare a number of days. That's what I'm saying. Like they all did. And I
To be
couldn't-
revisited in
I couldn't-
90 days if our ordinance is not.
So you want to do it in 90 days? Then,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
Sounds
Give me
good.
your motion, in 90 days.
a storage building.
Agenda that we have.
And-
matches the.
Matches
the city
ordinance.
You already did.
As long as I'm.
Thank you very much.
Footage, I can.
That is the last item on the agenda, department reports and questions from council. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 department heads.
Water and Sewer Commissioner.
They are not. I think Mr. Posey, I don't remember what, anyway, nobody from the water and sewer is here at all.
We have one out sick. Dalton was out sick today.
Sorry,
Dalton was out sick today.
Teresa.
We have a new chair, I guess I'll know that.
Teresa Burchett is the new chair of water wastewater.
They're not here, but maybe, I'd like to appeal to them to kind of clean up some of their garbage around the water treatment plant.
Oh, you.
Yeah. Just the discarded car batteries is a bigger, just all of it, just all the trash, but discarded car batteries, tires, all the stuff they just sweep out of the back of their truck onto the hill, and everything. I'd like to appeal to them to at least provide me a large roll-off dumpster, and I'll get it taken care of through volunteer work. But I really think that these department heads should pick up their own trash. The tires, batteries are very here. I mean, you're sitting there in front of our drinking water and you've got batteries dumped out, and I think it's disgraceful.
Do they have an adequate dumpster, or do we need to provide them with
No,
a?
they have a dumpster.
If they have a dumpster, it's not big enough. It's that much garbage.
I think a lot of that's been there for a long time.
A lot of it's been there for a long time.
I'll address that with.
But I mean, to me, a roll-off then is just a temporary thing. I mean, if they need a bigger dumpster to handle all their trash, then I think we need to provide for a bigger dumpster so it can be on
That
an
would have been my
ongoing basis.
appeal to them. You're obviously not gonna pick up your own trash because it's been there for 25 years. So I'll pick it
I
up.
thought Greg
Just
cleaned
provide
us
some-
up there after.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It's too old.
And you're saying this is up at the water plant, like on Marymount?
Where they're putting the trails, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And Charlotte would tell you not to call my bluff. I've got pictures.
No, I'm sure. I just want to make sure that I'm telling him the correct location.
Because Charlotte called my bluff one time. I started pulling pictures out, and it was my favorite mayor.
Yeah.
Along with that request, do you want, what is the timing of when you need that fence moved?
Pretty quick. Yeah, I mean, doesn't have to happen now.
Do we know exactly where, how far back? You know?
Yeah, it needs to go back about 50 feet.
Would you say outside of, the viewing public, or, I mean, 50 feet could still be very.
No, it's just, we're talking about the fence for access for the trail.
We're talking about access to trailhead. The
So-
Parks Commission might wait. They could probably give an exact distance.
What kind of fence you gonna put back there?
It's just like a chain link fence back to get parking, right?
That's what I always,
Okay.
Dan,
I guess that's fine. I mean, I was just sitting here thinking that, because privacy, so
We don't have any business having garbage.
in our property?
Well, and I don't mean to hide the garbage, I'm just saying, what a private do is, you're not looking at it.
Okay.
Stuff. I mean, you're not gonna move the water tank and all that.
And I know they're not here, but Mayor, when you relay this to them, I'm gonna attempt to try to get with Arkansas Canoe Club, maybe have a wrap or something, try to clean up our lake, because our lake, there's a lot of garbage in our lake. It's almost like you took a landfill, flooded it, and called it our water source. So, it's pretty bad.
Get a kayak full of it.
Oh, it's just unreal how much garbage is there.
We kind of have a clean day or something out there on the week, on Saturday or something.
Trash crash at the lake.
There you go.
So we tried that this past Sunday on Center Street, didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Then you want to,
I'll try to organize something
okay,
substantial. It's gonna be a year or so.
okay. I'll pass it on.
Charlotte's already volunteered.
Yeah.
I'll take her guy.
Hey, just for the record, on the moratorium on storage buildings, we never did state, but it's on the construction of storage buildings, correct?
Yes.
Associated construction or permitting.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they only want to permit it. Anything else for a director that is present, gentlemen? If not, move into the council forum.
Sidewalks look great.
I will say this, a question about the sidewalk. So I noticed down the sidewalk, there's a lot of sedimentation in the creek. I mean, especially where those culverts are at. Is there any thoughts about smoothing that up? Because, I mean, somebody's going to have to maintain that, not only weeding it. And so that also impedes the flow of water. So if we're already there, now might be a good time to,
They should be doing that. I don't, where specifically you talking about?
right in front of the senior citizens home is one of them.
Okay.
Anywhere there's one of those concrete culverts, right on each side of it, and it's washed out, and it's almost washed out to, I would have thought that they would have fixed it when they put the sidewalk in, but there's big washouts.
I'll pass it on.
That way in front of the church, in front of Melody Road.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they're not through. I'll pass it on to Jeremy. And I kind of believe they're gonna come back and saw it, most of it, but I don't know that. I'll look at the plans and get with Jeremy.
They had it all dressed up this last rain, washed a bunch of it out.
They had worked on it. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're excited about it. It's very unique.
I have a small complaint from Steve Jones. Did he work at the school?
Used to.
Steve Jones and Jenny Powell, married one. So when you're coming into Greenwood, they're just complaining about the amount of garbage in the ditches.
God,
Wait, Miss Danielle would like to know if you're paying attention.
I would like to talk.
Would you like to address the council?
Okay,
I can say your name.
I also have noticed the
Rod,
amount.
you're gonna have to get Rod Facebook,
Okay.
he doesn't know.
Name and number, please.
Okay, I know, well, we just talked about it. Okay, let me just let you know what happened.
3 times.
So, we had,
Thank you, Danielle.
Roger?
Roger just made me aware, y'all.
Yes, hold on, I'm gonna give you all the information. Okay, so we had a couple people get on Facebook complaining about all the trash coming to town. There's also a very nice couple that moved here from Georgia maybe, they love it here, they think it's like the greatest place ever, they're really excited. He said that he wanted to go pick up trash, and I said, help yourself. He said, but I only got my cart, it's gonna fill it up, and I said, you can use the city dumpster. So that got me thinking, maybe we should all go out there and do it. And so I talked to the mayor, and he's like, yeah, send it out. So I sent an email out to everybody, okay? And I put it on Facebook, trying to get people to come. Can you tell you how many people came? 3 signatures. Some were out of town. Charlotte said she would have been there. Shannon said she would have been there. Anyways, it was the mayor, myself, and Savannah, who was our receptionist, along with her daughter, my daughter, and then a nice lady came with her 2 young children, and then a gentleman came with his son. And we picked up trash for 2 hours. We probably got 12 to 14 bags of trash. And Jeff Turner came by and picked a couple bags on the road. We found an iPod, a set of keys, lots of liquor bottles in a town where no one drinks. What?
Set of Jeep keys.
No, 4.
All kinds of stuff. Anyways, we picked up trash from both sides of Westwood Baptist Church, and then across from Westwood Baptist Church, behind all those houses and fences, and then on the other side of where you turn into Westwood also. So we're gonna go do that maybe once or twice every month.
And we didn't make a dent.
We did not make a dent. I mean, there's still tons out there, but we are gonna try to get, we did have other employees say that they forgot, and they would have been there, and they planned on being there, so we're gonna do it again probably in 2 or 3 weeks. But yes, we are aware of that. And, Tyler, I get really,
Who did you say?
I'm really tired, sorry. Steve Jones. Today I got a text message after work, and I think that they went after work. Kim and Tyler from the street department, they went and picked up a whole bunch of trash all up North Main today. And they had, I don't know, probably 10 bags of trash run this afternoon. So we are working on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Because mowing season is coming, and they're having to mow, and it's gonna be really worse.
In conjunction with that, Bob, did you have any more to say about adopt a spot?
I'm waiting on the price from Paul Wise, and when I have that, I'll bring you a budget.
Okay.
They're paying their.
We've talked to the street department,
Yes, I
and we've
called.
kind of got some thoughts on it. I thought I'd have it tonight, but no.
Get with Brandon too, Goldsmith, he's got somebody, a friend of his, that is something with, I don't know if y'all remember years ago, we did a cleanup. And there was a lot of things for free, the tools to pick up with, the grabbers, the bags, the vest and all that. I can't remember who it is, but he's got.
I think I still have a sticker on my door from.
Yeah.
I also contacted Jeff Wagner's office to see if there was a group of people that need to work on community hours, community service hours. He said he didn't even actually have anybody available, but that he would keep this in mind. And I did sign us up on the Keep Arkansas Beautiful to get some free supplies like trash bags, safety vests, but the city did purchase those. And we put that out on the ad on Facebook that the city would provide all of those safety precautions.
Thank you. So, and on that note, so Kim Gowdy, if you don't know, Kim works over the street department, and she takes pride, to say the least, in maintaining the parking right out on 71 and Center Street now. And I was talking to her about, I had called her to get in, I can never remember the code to get in over because I used a city truck to make sure we had a light flashing out there while we were there that Sunday, Saturday, whatever that was.
Sunday.
Anyway, she was enthusiastic and understanding and apologizing to me for not being there. And I said, no, it was strictly volunteer. Nobody was making employees go. But she was encouraging me that they're going through summer help right now, or getting ready to get help. And they've already been through a couple because when she takes them out there and says, your job is to pick up trash from here to there and then come back and weed eat. That's pretty treacherous down there. So if anybody decides to come and help, be prepared. When I say treacherous, it's deep ditches and literally briars everywhere. So
Well, the mayor got cut twice, just so you all know, on his arm and on his face.
It's going to be, it's going to take probably a good summer, but once they get in there with their mowers and stuff and get that cleaned up as far as the briars and the overgrowth, it's going to be a lot easier to keep clean. But it's bad.
Well, I also called the Greenwood High School and let them know that we have all these supplies. If any of the clubs wanted to do some volunteer work, but I did not get any response.
Well, Danielle, I would encourage you to coordinate with Bob. I think this adopted spot would be, use that, but also I think, if we have, the more volunteers you get, or to designate a quarterly thing, I'm saying, like we say the first Saturday of the quarter or something like that, that we do that. That way everybody kind of gets that
knows
year
when
in
it
their
is.
minds.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Maybe we could do it on Tuesday nights, Stuart.
I need to ask y'all about the invoice that I had a memo in your packet.
I think, I saw that, and I think that, this is going to help ensure that the bond is a good and quality bond, or whatever. I'm for paying for it.
Well, I mean, when we get these, do you want, what's the process you want us to follow? See them every time and approve them? Or do you just want the mayor to, or how do you want to do that?
How often are we gonna get these, Mr. Foreman?
According to our ordinance, bond issues or extraordinary litigation, or any cost incurred in the carrying out of regular duties, I would bill for. So, not too awful often, I wouldn't think, but
I would think that, anything outside of the scope of work, as time goes on, we may have to amend the budget. So until then, we probably should see it.
See it every time.
Yeah.
How about I just put them in there, and if you have any kind of question,
We can ask them, but
you can ask
then
them.
we can kind of be aware if
Yeah.
we're going to exceed
Right.
budget limitations
Uh-huh.
for that extra work.
honestly, I wasn't aware that even went out, because I don't handle that part of things, but, it did come from the building department, but, I don't necessarily look at every single one before they go out, but I will say that my normal rate is $2.25, so I spend, $50 off my normal rate to the city. And just FYI, that covers, I reviewed the paperwork we had from the last meeting versus the bond that was proposed. And also drew up a contract, which was an agreement to bond between the city and Mr. Burke. So I try not to take it too far on it.
Did it look good? I mean, everything was fine?
It looked legally sufficient, in my opinion.
It was for the 300,
300.
sorry, I do that every time, 300,000 amount. Because I think you raised it, we went from 275 to 25, or
It was.
725. Mr. Plummer called me on it to get approval.
All right, okay.
Anything, okay, good.
Yeah.
Anything else for council, or department heads, or council forum, sorry? If not, I wanted to just make you aware, you want to tell them about Mr.
You can.
Bob Dodd is a fireman for the city of Greenwood. His twin brother passed just tonight, unexpectedly, and he also had a nephew pass last night. So I would ask that you keep Bob Dodd. He's a fireman. He maintenance at Farmers Bank, and his brother worked it out for packaging. So I just ask you to keep that family in your prayers.
Twin brother.
Twin brother, yeah. I once talked to his twin brother out of thinking it was Bob for about 20 minutes. Realized it wasn't Bob. So, but yeah, I ask you to keep that family in your prayers. If there's nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you very much. How do you get a second? Second. Third.
Let's see if we can find a time to take a look, maybe we can get together and go get our
She's 24 and travel.
I think it's
Keep solid.
short, baby.
23.
Start getting okay. That'll be done. Good.
Just collecting photos.